During my experimentation phase, I ended up doing 3 different stitches to finish off the edges. Well, turns out if I use the technique I used on the raw edges, I can combine all 3 stitches into one, greatly reducing the bulk on the inside. So, thank you to the viewer who told me about that. You're the MVP. Let me use that technique to put together the entirety of this sweater. We got a surprisingly early snow this season, so I thought it'd make sense to light the fireplace. Cup of warm Java. Okay, fine, it's water. I already had my coffee for the morning, but for effect. I'm working in the reverse order of how I took the sweater apart. Pull this one through. Come on. I'm really having to remember my technique here, building that rhythm. It's a little bit of a challenge here in the beginning. All right, wrap around, through, and through. Woo! Oh my, okay. The 2 sleeves in the back are connected now. Moving on to the collar. I'm just gonna pin it in place for now. And I'm realizing that working with yarn that's the same color as the sweater certainly presents a fresh set of challenges. There isn't that nice contrast. I had this intention of, oh, I'm just going to start knitting and then I'll tell a story while I'm knitting, but turns out I got to focus on just my knitting here first. I just had an idea actually, editing corn. Why don't you split screen this thing, entertainment corn, you jump on the other side there, and tell a fun, wholesome story, please, while I focus on my crocheting here, okay? I would love to tell a story, and let's return to when we were 18 and realized very quickly we were not meant for a life of crime. My friends and I, we grew up in this small town, and the constant battle was trying to stave off boredom. Sometimes we'd head one town over to St. Thomas, and, well, one of the things they had was a strip mall. This particular day, we found ourselves meandering into the dollar store, gravitated towards the cap gun section, and an impromptu game of cops and robbers broke out in the hallways. I had a brilliant idea. Guys, why don't we buy these things and then we could turn this into a whole day of fun? So that game that started in the halls now spilled out into the parking lot, and well, we'd hide behind cars and jump out at each other, and it generally became a bit of a performance. A bit of a surprise coming from me, I know. Who knew I liked to entertain? Okay, now I have to get the front panel on as well. Okay, back to the story. And as these games progressed, well, the novelty started to wear off, and I was driving Dad's truck that day, and I came up with the suggestion, well, let's roll around the parking lot, and we can have these things hanging out the window, generally make a scene of it. Without thinking, as a person walks by, I just fired at him. I gave him a mighty fright. The guys, they thought it was hilarious. I was like, oh my, we have found some more fun. This continued, and look, let's be honest. Most of the people, they were just annoyed with us. Like, teenagers being teenagers. Others, we gave them a mighty fright. Well, after a while of doing this in the parking lot, naturally this needed to be escalated, so we took the game out into the streets and fired at cars going by us, cars next to us, passengers walking on the sidewalk. Oh my, what a great day we'd had. Eventually, everything was no longer as exciting as it once was, and we decided to head home. We were hungry. It was dinner time. I think that works, right? Yeah, seems to be okay, I think. Next, the sides here. Let's just go ahead and undo that, and undo all these pins here for this side panel, because turns out I put this front panel on backwards. Now luckily it's just this bit here, but this hasn't exactly been the fastest going project to begin with. All right, flip this thing around and back again to it. And driving home, we're reminiscing and laughing about all the fun we'd had when all of a sudden I noticed there was a cruiser behind us. So I checked the speed limit. Okay, yeah, we're good. And we continued joking around, and well, that one became two, and not quite so funny anymore. We quieted down a little bit, and then we pass a side street. There's a cop waiting. It pulls up behind us too. I'm white knuckling it now. Nobody's saying anything, and well, before you know it, there's 8 cruisers behind us. They start to spread out in this staggered formation. The lights go on. It's a flurry of noise and sound, and well, I pull over immediately. All right, back on track. Now going down the side again. The cruisers, they formed this arch around the truck, and they jumped out of the cars, hiding behind the doors, guns drawn, pointed at us. And then over the loudspeaker, I hear, "Turn off the engine." Next, open the window slowly. And it's only in a moment like this you realize just how slow the windows on cars are. Reach out of the car with both of your hands and open the door slowly. Okay. Clink. Put your hands behind your head and back out of the truck slowly. Okay. Things are starting to pick up a little bit of a pace now. I'm moving on to the other seam along the side here. All right, back to you, Entertainment Corn. I'm backing up slowly, just waiting for that moment when all of a sudden, don't resist, keep your hands behind your back. And I remember having this crazy thought of, well, if there's one thing I know about the law, it's that cops can't curse. And well, the way these pirates are talking, I'm getting off scot-free. And then one at a time, my friends were slowly escorted out of the truck in the same manner and each put in separate cruisers as well. Now they start to search the truck and, well, one at a time, they start pulling out these neon green, bright orange cap guns that made silly sounds. Some of them had the little powder in them that goes bang, but these were clearly still toys. Surely they must know that this has been one giant misunderstanding. They'll give us a stern talking to. Of course, we'll humbly accept the admonishment and we'll be on our way. Nope. Out come these clear evidence bags and in go the toy guns. Everything gets packed up and we start to head off back to the town from where we came. And I had another one of these irrational thoughts of, well, we can't just be leaving the pickup truck behind. Dad needs it for work tomorrow. Make sure I put this back panel on the right way. So that's right side, right side. Flip this way, right there. Okay. We eventually reached the station and, well, they put us all in separate jail cells. Some of the guys, they're joking around, but at this point, oh, I'm afraid, I'm nervous, and I'm starting to think about what happened, and oh no, my future, it's screwed. I mean, I might as well give up on college. That's not happening. I guess I can get a construction job. I'll work manual labor my whole life. The town drunks, they eventually get dealt with. The guys, they start to quiet down, and 1 hour becomes 2, 2 becomes 3, 3 becomes 4, and well now, as evening approaches, they start to interview us one at a time. When it gets to my turn, I immediately squeal like a pig. Oh, I tell them everything. I just want this thing to be dealt with. I want it to be over with. And all this sitting really gives me some back pains. All right, 2 more seams. Up the sides here, and then down the arms on both sides. Parents were called, and well, this was what I was most afraid of, was what were Mom and Dad gonna say? And oh, as I slowly got in the van, I braced for impact. And credit to them, they said nothing. They clearly could tell that I've admonished myself so intensely at this point that nothing they could say could make it worse for me. All right, I gotta finish this thing off in the morning. This is just too much left to do. Entertainment corn, why don't you finish off your story so I can finish up then? Oh, and worst of all was that next morning when Dad woke me up bright and early, told me to drive the van. Nothing was said during the entire drive as we went to go pick up the truck. Woo! Was I ever happy when we finally got there. I happily paid the fee and we drove home separately. Luckily, the judge in the case had some smarter sense and dropped the cases. We each got either community service. It was a week before I needed to leave for college. I paid a fine. And needless to say, I've been on the right side of the law, mostly, ever since. New day, fresh spirits, finish off strong here. I'm by no means a master, but I'm actually kind of developing a bit of a rhythm and a pattern for myself here. Now work these loose bits of thread into the yarn of the sweater. Stitch the neck back on the inside here. While I'm at it here, I'm going to patch up a few little holes that have creeped into this thing. So here it is in its final form, the Aran sweater, I believe it's called Aran sweater, and all this time and effort that I put into it has been worth it. I mean, this is a pretty decent fit. I think it beautifully hugs me without being too tight. I did end up shortening it a little bit as well, which I didn't show in the process. In general, the stitches, they feel really nice and sturdy. They're not quite as beautiful in some areas as I would like around the neck, for example. Other areas along the side, it turned out quite nicely. But in general, I have myself a super warm, nice cable knit sweater. And when I say warm, I mean, I've been wearing this thing for 5 minutes, filming this, and I am sweating buckets under here. In fact, editing corn, do me a favor, give us one of those before and after side-by-sides. And I'll spin around just like in the before. Not bad, huh? And on particularly cold days in the winter when we reach minus 15, minus 20 degrees Celsius, throw a coat over top, toucan scarf, some nice leather gloves. Bring it on, winter. Oh yeah, and boots and long johns, but you get the point.